Well, hello, and welcome everyone. I am so excited to be here, whether you are listening live or joining us for the replay. We've got some exciting content to share with you today. So, today is all about how to really develop your sense of security in your career, specifically in your business analyst career. And so we're going to talk all about that. I think it's a really present topic for a lot of people right now. And as we're diving in, I just want to do a quick introduction. So I'm Laura Brandenburg with Bridging the Gap. I'm the founder and CEO of Bridging the Gap, where we help you start, succeed, and excel in your business analyst career. I am the author of How to Start a Business Analyst Career. We've created a ton of videos and free content on YouTube and our blog at bridgingthegap.com. As well as you can find me on LinkedIn and all kinds of other places across the web. We also offer the Applied Certification in Business Analysis, which you earn through your participation in the Business Analyst Blueprint program. So that's just a little bit about the things that I've created in the world. And with me today is Paula Bell. And Paula is both Director of Operations at Bridging the Gap and does a lot of advice or consulting and career coaching on her own as well. So I'm looking forward to sharing her perspective. Paula, what else would you like to say about yourself as we just get started here?
I think you did it justice right there, Laura. Yes, I do a lot of career coaching outside of being the director of communications for Bridging the Gap. And I've been doing it for years. And I've been in multiple leadership roles, manager roles, hiring talent, sourcing talent, coaching talent. So this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. And I'll just leave it there and just get right into the meat of the conversation.
Sounds good. Well, thank you. Thanks for being here. I'm looking forward to what you have to share as well. You've always got great career advice for people.
Thank you.
Yeah. So as we get started, I just want to acknowledge, this has been a really tough start to the year. We started the year and even ended last year with news about layoffs. And I know I see it on LinkedIn all the time, people who have either been personally impacted or who are trying to help others who are being impacted. So, if you're joining us live or if you're listening into the replay, I would love to hear in the chat, like, do you know somebody who's been impacted recently, or has your company maybe been impacted in some way? Has there been a downsize or a cutback? Like, what are you hearing in the marketplace? Like, go ahead and let us know in the chat. That will enable us to also make sure that we're serving the people that are here live as best as possible. So, and as you're doing that, I just want to speak to, I think, the news that we're hearing, right, can be a really important reminder of this bit of the tough truth, which is one of the core messages I want to have shared today, which is that career security, it really doesn't come from one job or one employer or one role or even one skill. Like, no matter how well established your company or how well suited you are to the job, like, things change. Nothing in life is guaranteed, right? And your job, which may be amazing, you might be in an amazing job right now, but your career is bigger than that one job, right? Your career is something that you own and that is yours to grow and evolve. You are actually in charge when it comes to your career. So no matter where you find yourself during this time that can feel really tumultuous, right? This is a time to lean in. So if your company is experiencing lean times, leaning in can help support that. How can you help them create efficiencies and extract more value from their investments? Right? Business analysts have just so much to offer. And in this current environment, we can help our companies pivot and create value in new ways and really ensure that your systems and processes are being as effective and efficient as possible. So Paula, what would you add to that about like what you're seeing currently in the marketplace and just kind of in general, how to think about a time like this?
So in the marketplace, it's interesting because I see both sides, right? I see areas where there's a lot of growth, where people are hiring and advancing and promoting. And then there's some industries where there's not, or in some domains where there's not, where there's downsizing going on. So there's that sort of I'm seeing both sides of it. I'm seeing people who are getting really amazing jobs and advancing in their career. And then I am seeing people who are going through layoffs and might have been going through multiple layoffs. There's a connection I have on LinkedIn, just got a position and then ended up in that position for just a few months and now is laid off again. And so you just never know. But the thing that's interesting is, number one, you definitely have to get your mind right, because it's going to happen, right? This is ebb and flows.
Yeah.
And like you said, nothing is really ever guaranteed. So it's just getting your mind right to know that you are grateful for the time that you do have in these roles and these positions, but also making sure you're always leveling up your skills. You're continually showing your value so that you're that employee that or team member that a organization cannot do without, right? It'll be really hard for them to make that decision. And you're always looking for new opportunities as well, because don't get so complacent and in this box that you might miss some of those great opportunities that are coming your way due to you might having some limiting beliefs, or you're just, I'm just good. I'm just complacent, right? Because you just, as you said, you never know when those opportunities come. You want to be able to just grab them and hone on to them. So, from the individuals that I'm coaching, most of the individuals that I'm coaching right now, they're advancing. So, they're
Mhm.
looking for other roles. I do have one who's looking, but they're looking for other roles, or they've received that other role and now they're thriving in it, or they're getting acclimated to it. So, it's kind of, I'm seeing both sides of it, Laura. I'm not just seeing one over the other at this particular time.
For sure. And I think what is so apparent when you're talking about, like, we're seeing both things happen, right? There's part of the mindset is like, what do you choose to pay attention to?
Mhm.
Because the media can make things seem like, not to undercut or devalue like the significance of
Mhm.
some of what might be happening, but also sometimes like the media can make it seem bigger and more like scary than it is, right? So
Mhm.
just also consciously training your mind to look for the people who are celebrating new opportunities, celebrating promotions, kind of, so you have that balance of, it's not just one story that's available to us right now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So if you're just joining us, we'd love to hear, like, is there a question that you have specifically for us today? We've got a few tips that we are going to go through in terms of what things that we feel like you can do to improve your career security. And also, if you know anyone that's been impacted, or if your company has been impacted. I saw Euphemia said, there was some downsizing due to the IT market conditions. Angela said she's in the construction industry and has not had any cutbacks so far. So, and Crystal just said, I'm in the automation and robotics industry, and luckily we've not experienced this either. So that's great. So we have a few people here who have had different experiences, right? But it's still, I feel like, the story that often is like lingering, like, is this going to affect me, and will it, and how will it? So, one of the things that I wanted to just lead off with in terms of a tip is becoming the go to business analyst. So, when you're thinking about how to build your security in your career, right? And thinking big picture about that, not necessarily just this job, but also your career. Becoming the go to business analyst does actually, it really helps with job security as well. It's really becoming the one that others go to for questions, and that everyone kind of wants on their projects, right? And so that obviously elevates your on the job security. Again, there's just never any guarantees. You don't know necessarily what's going to happen, but it also elevates your long-term career security, because that leads to referrals, that leads to connections, people who are going to vouch for your work. It gives you access to more opportunities that are going to allow you to apply for a broader range of positions if you ever should need to in the future. And so, how do you actually get there? A few things to really pay attention to is, one, just being personally successful in your role, right? So, in doing what it takes to make your projects a success. So, what does your project really like need to be successful? And often that's a blend of meeting your company and teams where they're at, So what is it that they're expecting of you, and getting really, really clear on those expectations so that you're fulfilling those needs. But also as you get comfortable with that, bringing in best practices and pushing the needle forward. So bringing in templates and other resources, and maybe, if you're kind of in a smaller bit of a box of a role, kind of pushing outwards at the peripheries to the ways that to the aspects, so that you're building a broader range of experience, right? So bringing those practices so that people see you as somebody who's not just the order taker or the do what I tell you to do, but who is also bringing resources from outside your company in terms of how to improve. And as you do that, what you will often find is people will want to ask you questions. Well, where did you get that template? How did you do that? How did you, that looks so cool. The stakeholders really received that. Like, how did you do that? And so if we're thinking about our job security, sometimes a natural thing can be to actually like hoard that information and be like, oh, no, that's mine. Right. But I also like becoming the go-to business analyst means you're able to willing and answer questions. You're willing to mentor others, not hoarding that information. That actually elevates you and gives you a great reputation that you can take with you to a lot of places. So Paula, I know I just shared quite a bit of things there, but what might you add or reflect on from the go-to business analyst perspective?
No, that's totally right. It's all about value, right?
Mm-hmm.
Becoming that person that people see valuable, because when you have that value, you are going to be a person that has credibility, that has trust. And so people are going to reach out to you, and you're going to demonstrate to them the value that you bring for them to achieve whatever their goals are as well. In addition to that, Laura, we do have a couple of questions that came up that relate to this tip. And I do want to give some time. We're not going to be able to answer every single question, but I do think there is one interesting question that I believe we should have a little bit of conversation about, because it does go with tip 1. And it's, do I have to be a SME to become the go-to BA? What do you think about that? Do you think from in your career, have you had to be a SME to be that go-to BA? Do you have to be, or can you just be that go-to BA?
Yeah, so when I think about the go-to business analyst, we're going to talk about like domain and industry expertise in a little bit, but I'm not thinking about the expert in the everything of the systems, right? Or everything in the functional domain. It's like the expert in business analysis, like becoming the go-to for, we have a new project, a new change, something big that we want to roll out for our company. Who's the person that comes to mind that we want to have be involved in that? So that's very different than, oh, we're going to update this process. Who's the person that knows everything about this process or everything about this system, right? So both ways, I think, can be paths to some security. But like that expertise in a specific process or tool, like your security then is sort of tied to your company valuing that process or continuing to use that tool. And so whereas a business analyst, you're tied to a much larger set of opportunities of like anytime we want to make a change or employ some new software. And those opportunities are not going away, where you don't know what's going to happen to that specific area of expertise. That's my view on that.
No, I agree. I don't think you have to be a SME to become a go-to BA. I've been in many roles where I was not the subject matter expert. The reason I was placed in that role was because I had the BA expertise, and that's what they needed. So definitely don't let that be a hindrance to you. Getting the skills of what a business analyst is supposed to do and what we do, and demonstrating that value and successfully helping to finish projects and transform organizations. You may never have been the SME, but because you know how to do the BA role correctly, you have demonstrated the value.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think that's a great segue actually to number 2, which is looking to consistently add more value, right? So I would be interested to hear in the chat as well, like what activity, when you think about it, when you look at the activities you do today, what really is creating the most value for your organization, right? And you might not have thought about it that way before. But when you are the one who is consistently adding more value in terms of the outcome that your company is really valuing right now too. So, and if you aren't sure what that is, like this is a great way to use your BA skills to ask questions. Like, are we like in cost cutting mode right now? Are we in revenue generation mode? Are we in find new leads? Are we in innovation mode? Like, what is the mode that we're in, or what is it that we're really trying to accomplish as a company? So that I can use that to think, okay, now how do I use my business analysis skill set to help the company in that way, and to see this is where I'm really adding value that maybe my team or my manager or my company is going to appreciate. And these are the things that I think I should be doing, but maybe aren't being valued. And that can be really challenging to look at, because it's so often there's so much pressure we put on ourselves to do things the right way that may or may not be required in your current organizational context. Right. So, and then as you kind of get clear, oh, these are the things that they're really valuing. Like maybe it's like the business process work is really being valued right now, or they're really emphasizing efficiencies, right? How can you put even more time and attention into that? How can you bring new ideas to the table? And what do you maybe need to let go of? Because often it's not just about piling on more into, but like, are there things that you're doing that you feel like you should be doing, or you thought you had to do, that actually aren't being valued or aren't necessary anymore? And could you let go of those, or delegate those, or just kind of do them on a less frequent cadence, so that you can emphasize the areas that you really want to be focused on? Yeah, Paula, do we have any questions around that? Or I was just going to scan the comments too to see if people shared about what they had, or if you want to share something as well.
Sure. So we
So
don't
yeah,
really have, it was more commentary than
yeah.
questions. Still going back to tip number one, we have a
Mm,
comment that you are easily replaceable if you aren't a SME. I would like to challenge that. Uh,
mm,
Being a hiring manager and a manager over business analyst, business process, doing tech projects, hiring individuals. What I don't want people leaving this call thinking is that if you are not a subject matter expert in a particular domain, you cannot be an effective business analyst. It's not true. You can be. I'm living proof of it. I moved in the financial industry. I moved from mortgage to credit card. I had no credit card experience at all, except how I use it as a consumer. But I'm leading a team transforming how we build credit cards and things of that nature, right? You learn as you go. You ask the questions. And sometimes it is good to have somebody who does not know the business that well to challenge some of those things that they've been doing to make you think differently. So don't let that limit you, or don't let that make you feel as though you are more replaceable than somebody else, because that may not be the case, right?
mhm.
You have some stuff. It depends on the organization. I think value addition as a BA is about able to find solutions to obstacles and come up with during projects.
Yeah.
Um,
And I just want to add to that, like a way to flip that belief around. One
mhm.
of the best pieces of career advice I ever got was like, if you're not replaceable, you're not promotable. So,
Mm,
like, it could be that not being the expert in and holding on to some specific area of expertise actually does make you more replaceable in that context, but like it makes you replaceable or hard to replace in something that really keeps you stuck, versus enabling you to get promoted beyond that role that creates other opportunities for you long term. So it could create job security, right? In this context of what we're talking about, but it really doesn't create career security. So, and that's not to disagree with anything you shared there, Paula, because I
no,
would
I
agree, like
agree.
it's not, but it's like
Yeah,
it can feel really safe to like hoard the
right,
knowledge. And I was
right.
going to talk to this in a little bit, but we're kind of naturally getting into the tip three around getting out of your silos. It just seems to be the question, right?
Right, it
But
is.
like, and one of the things, I started bridging the gap back in 2008, and one of the themes at that time was I was a lot of people who wanted to get into business analysis were like people who were working on mainframe systems, right? And they had recently, like those systems were, I mean, they've been going out of date for a long time, but like if you still had that role in 2008 and you were hanging on to like, I'm the only one that knows this old mainframe system, right? Like a lot of those roles started to really disappear even like 10, 15 years ago. And so I know that's an extreme example, but like that's kind of the mental framework of it, of like the expertise being more valued than the business analysis skills. Like at some point, you'll have to switch expertises in order to stay current. And it gets harder and harder to do the more entrenched you get into a certain area. Yeah.
So I would say, Laura, that probably is a great segue into getting out of your silo, right?
Mm-hmm.
And having that conversation as well.
Yeah, I kind of got into a little bit of a. I guess I am on a soapbox, so that's okay.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yes. Okay. So I'm curious to hear what, like from a positive perspective, what are the areas of specialty that you do have today? Like I think we saw robotics was one. I saw some about SQL and Excel. What else did I see? Let's see. Financial industry, right? So lots of different opportunities. And I really like these areas of expertise can definitely, like, they can be an area of success. They can help you get your foot in the door to business analysis. So if you are looking to start a business analyst career, kind of mining those areas of specialty is a great place to start. I don't want to underestimate the value of it. But what happens is when we don't move beyond them, we get stuck and rigid. And Paula, I know we get a lot of questions about, well, what industry should I pursue or what's the specialty, right?
Oh,
and
yes.
You always are such a great one at speaking this. So do you want to speak a little bit to that question around, business analysis really being relevant beyond one industry?
It is. Business analysis, you use it everywhere. You use it in your personal life. You probably don't even realize it, but you do. I mean, the things that we're doing, we're solving problems. The root of a business analyst is to solve a problem and to bring some sort of transformational solution that meets strategic objectives, right? And so you're solving problems all the time. So you're analytical, you're critical thinking, all of these things that you're doing day in and day out. You can transfer these skills to any industry. Again, I'm a living example of that. I started in media, then I went to carpet manufacturing, then I went to the judicial system. Yes, business analysis is used in the court system. Now, I wasn't in the system, I just worked for the system. So let me be clear. I then went over to financial, where I did mortgage, student loans, credit card. You can use these skills across the board. And in addition to that, I will just say, from a technology perspective, I always get this question: what technology should I know as a business analyst? And my answer to you is always going to be, it depends. What industry are you in? If you're in healthcare, there might be certain systems that are used in healthcare. One of the best ways to figure this out is to look at jobs that are posted in the healthcare industry and see where you have commonalities. That's a way you can figure out, oh, I might have to know this system this technology system in order to work in healthcare. But there's no direct answer that we can give because business analysis spans multiple industries. So if you try and learn everything, you're going to get overwhelmed and you're probably going to get demotivated. Get real focused on where do you want to work? What environment do you thrive in? Get real clear on that. The more clarity you have, the better off you are going to be advancing in the BA career, because it is so broad, which is a great thing because you can move, you can shift. As you heard, Laura and I both have been in corporate. We now run our own businesses. We haven't stopped using business analysis. I do business analysis for Bridging the Gap, right? I do business analysis for my own company. So there's a lot of variety here, a lot of places you can go. So that would be my answer to what industry or even technology.
Yeah, I think that's just such a great reminder. And, you do have to pick one to start next. But also, I would, if you're really thinking about your security long term in your career, to not get stuck there. Right. So, and that can require you to consciously get out of your comfort zone. So it does.
Mhm.
I feel it gets more and more comfortable, I think, the longer you stay in a particular tool, in a particular company, in a particular industry. And you don't have to necessarily jump and do a complete 180, like from healthcare to consumer electronics or something. But within your company, is there a project team that uses a different methodology? Or if you're working on a Salesforce project, is there a team or a project that works on a different area of Salesforce? Or if you're working mostly with the sales team, could you work with the customer service team or the marketing team on how they leverage Salesforce, right? So like to kind of get outside of whatever silo that you're in, or work with a different department with your company, or even like if like you really feel siloed in, are there opportunities to take side gigs in other industries, or at least be talking to other BAs in other industries, right? So being on sessions like this, joining training programs that allow you to communicate with others, going to your local chapter meetings, all things like this. So I feel like I can't emphasize this one enough, because this is where I see so many people get stuck. And if you are really entrenched in one specific area and then you do get laid off, it is much harder to kind of make that switch at that time if you don't have a few different areas of expertise behind you. And so really having some time, taking some time to really get outside your comfort zone and build that will really serve you well for the long term of your career.
And I think here's a great comment that pretty much solidifies what you just
Yeah.
said, right? Look at all those different roles
Yeah.
and then the ability to interview, the interviews that opened up for career
That is
advancement,
amazing.
right? That's a perfect
Congratulations,
example.
Suda.
Yes,
Yeah.
congratulations. It's a perfect example of that.
Yeah. Thank you for highlighting that one. So where I think the next piece, the next tip we wanted to talk about, because where this really leads to is what skills do you need to rely on? So if you're not relying on your industry or your specialty expertise, like that's part of the pie, but where do you need to rely on? And that's where it's like investing in a foundational skill set, like that we've been talking about here for a business analysis skill set is a really great long-term strategy as well. So, trendy topics create a lot of discussion. They create a lot of short-term opportunities. They can even often come with an elevated salary potential in the short term. So I don't want to discount any of that. And also, trends change, and those areas of specialty sometimes burn out, right? And so then you kind of get left in this funnel that then you're like, well, where do I go from here? So I'm often asked, like, what's the one skill that employers want right now, or what's the industry to focus on for the best salary? And I like that's not a bad question, but I think just realize when you're asking that question, you are looking for a quick fix to is it an urgent problem? Right? Versus, and it could at best lead to some short term wins. Now, and it also leaves you often chasing one skill after another, and kind of never feeling like you're in a profession or in a skill set, or feeling like you're really like have any sort of security or safety at all when it comes to your career. So the foundational skill sets, though, are not going away. And I feel like that is one of the blessings of being a business analyst. Like these skills have been around for a long time, and they're going to adjust and tweak, but like riding a bike, they're not going to change all that much. Like it's still going to be a value. I hope I'm still riding my bike 20, 30 years from now. Right. And like that's still a skill set I value. So I think we can share the slide here, right? This is our, just in terms of identifying what these skills are, this is the business analyst blueprint framework that we teach at Bridging the Gap. And the piece I want to highlight at the top, we split these into analysis techniques and communication techniques, because we see a lot of people get really excited about all the analysis techniques or the technologies, like the technical skills they need. Like, how am I going to actually sit down and write the requirements? And those are super important. I don't want to take away from that. But we can sometimes undervalue the communication techniques, or how am I actually working with stakeholders to get the information that goes into those requirements models? How am I actually validating that I have the right information, right? So we want to look at both. At a business level, that comes down to process analysis in discovery sessions. At a software level, use cases, wireframes, user stories, validating those documents with both business and technical stakeholders. And then at an information level, entity relationship diagrams, data dictionaries, data mapping, system context, right? And also a glossary. That's that tool that helps you make sure everybody's using the language in the same way. So I saw a question, I think, like, how can I drive requirements gathering meetings? Often it's partly using tools like this. So it is knowing what is the next step that I need to get to in my requirements process, having a deliverable you are driving towards. That might be, we need to get clear on what this business process is or what it should be, and then using a meeting structure that helps get you there. So are you in discovery mode, meaning I need to figure out what this process is, so I'm discovering it? Am I in validation mode, where we've talked about it a few times now, I just need to make sure we got it all right? Am I in getting alignment mode, where I'm, reviewing a use case with a business and a technology stakeholder to make sure everybody's really on the same page about those requirements? So there's a bit of a mix there in terms of how can you drive them. But I think having a document at the core that's not just like a big document, but is a requirements model, a thinking tool, a way of actually helping you get clear on the requirements, is a big asset. And then at the bottom of this is our 8-step business analysis process framework, which really like holds up the whole thing, right? So the top is all the techniques you might use. The bottom is the 8 steps, which take you all the way from getting a new project of what do you do when you get assigned a new project, to discovering what the business objectives are, defining the scope, coming up with a plan, and then working through those detailed requirements and supporting the team in implementing the solution to those requirements. So those are some of the key foundational skills to be thinking about as you're like, what is this business analysis skill set that I can be taking with me anywhere? So Paula, anything that you want to add to this, or any comments that we should be bringing to the forefront? Yeah.
Well, we do have a couple of comments. Karen says that this is a great framework. I did the class and love the templates too. So thank you,
Thank you,
Karen, on
Karen.
that. Angela
Yeah.
also said that this is great. Angela also mentioned that she agrees with me. It's the critics who drive improvement. Sometimes not knowing allows for the better questions.
Yeah.
So that was good as well. Outside of that, I'm quite sure we'll have some questions that we can address during the Q&A session, but those are some of the comments that came up as you were speaking.
Yeah. And we wanted to share, I'm just reviewing my notes, make sure I'm not missing anything. So we do have a few resources to get started. So we have an absolutely free business process template. We also have an absolutely free use case template. So if you were listening to me, like, kind of go through those at a very high level and like want to learn more about what's next, Paula is sharing those links up, and I believe in the chat as well, so that you can grab those if that's of interest to you.
Unfortunately, it does not look like they go to the LinkedIn chat,
Okay.
unfortunately. So I am sharing them up on the screen. So I will share the use case one here in a minute, just letting individuals get a chance to potentially write down this link.
Perfect. All right. So, and then I'd also love to hear, like, when, I know we don't have the slide up now, but when you think about it, like, what are the areas that you feel the strongest in? So I see Solomon's comment, the simplicity of that framework is worth its weight in gold. That's amazing. Thank you so much. And Karen, this is a great, you had that one up. It's a great framework. I did the class. Yeah. So, like, are there areas that you feel the strongest in that you would want advice maybe on how to leverage that from a career security perspective? Or are there areas where you're like, oh my gosh, I never even thought of that as a BA qualification, right? And how can I learn more? So I'd be interested in any of that as well. Let's see. All right. And then as we're kind of getting that final tip or those final comments in, I have, a final tip for you, which is investing in your self-confidence. So this is the most common thing we hear from people who come in through our programs is that they feel like they are lacking confidence in their business analysis skills. And really, confidence is an inside job. We talk about this a lot in our programs. Like, it's easy to be confident when everything is going well on the outside, but the reality that most of us are in is not that that's the case, right? But when you lack that internal sense of confidence, you also project that uncertainty to others, right? So you're less likely to trust your abilities, and you might like, oh, I think maybe we should try this business process template, but then you're unsure of it. And so people are like, does this person know what, right? Do they know what they're talking about, right? And it feels harder to get recognized for that because you are presenting it with uncertainty. And so when you have that sense of confidence of like, yes, this is an industry standard best practice. Yes, this is something that I know can achieve a lot of value. Yes, I know I'm doing it right? Or I'm doing it well enough to get a good result. And you bring that energy in, you're going to get a lot less pushback and you're going to be seen as somebody who knows what they're doing. Now, we all know that there's people out there, right, who like always look like they know what they're doing, even though they have no idea what they're doing. And I'm not advising you like do that, but I am advising that you really like own what you know. Like there's some great skills that have been shared in here and some great, I'm sure, like great strengths in business analysis, and to own the value of that and to see it from what you can do with these tools and templates. And so really part of the tip around cultivating this, like we see a lot of people get a lot of confidence when their work samples are reviewed. That is something that definitely happens inside our program. So when you have somebody from outside you or a mentor look at what you're doing and give you like, yeah, like this is great and this is where you can improve, that's a great way to get confidence. But another tip is just to look at the outcome of the work that you're doing. Look for where you're creating efficiencies and bringing people together. Take some time every day to really celebrate those successes, acknowledge your wins, even if it's just like, oh, like actually I figured out that so and so and so and so weren't using that term in the same way and reduced a lot of ambiguity. Just like taking some time to create that list for yourself on a day-to-day basis, to really acknowledge that, it will help build up your confidence over time so that you can be achieving more as well. So that, Paula, anything you want to add to that? I saw you kind of nodding along the way. I know that's like, it's a big one. Yeah.
Yeah, confidence is huge. And
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong. I would say even the most confident person lacks confidence at some point, right? I
For
mean,
sure.
it's a common thing that you will go through. It's a common journey. There are times where I go through it too, where I may not be as confident as I should be on something I am producing. The biggest thing I would say though is acknowledge it and do what you do best as a BA. Find out the root cause of it. Why are you feeling this way at this time? And then deal with that, because we all go through it because we're human, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're human. We all have emotions and whatnot. So we all go through it. It's just not staying there is key. It's getting over that and understanding how you got there and then pushing through that in hopes that you don't go back to that place again in the future. So confidence is something that wavers and it can be hard, but know within yourself. I'm huge on positive affirmations too. So I speak positivity out because there are some days where I'm hard on myself and I'm critical and I've got to speak those things out. So know what you bring, know your value. When you know your value, your confidence is going to go up. And then if you find that you have some gaps and some things you want to know, get the training on it and rebuild back up that confidence. That's all I would really say about that.
Sounds awesome. Thank you.
Oh, here's a good
Should we,
comment, though. Here's a
as I
good
say,
one.
should we take a few questions too? Yeah.
Yeah, I like
Let's
this
read this
one.
one. My experience tells me that true confidence comes from proving to yourself, I love that you can deliver under real world enterprise scale scenarios. It takes time, practice, and patience. I wouldn't suggest trying to buy confidence through training and certifications. I
Mm-hmm.
think there's a big difference, for
Mm-hmm.
sure. Like because like there's that external view of our results, but it has to get internalized on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah,
That was
thank
a
you for
good
that.
one.
All right. I know
I'm
we've
trying to
probably had
look.
some questions here. Should we ask people to repost?
I can probably grab them. I am scrolling up. Oh, here's one that you can answer real quick. What are the requirements for the ACPA certification?
Yeah, so ACPA is a certification we offer through Bridging the Gap. It is through the Business Analyst Blueprint certification program. And when you go through that program, you go through 4 modules. So basically, each of the skill set areas that we talked about in the foundational business analysis skills. And you submit a workbook for each of those that has your real world examples, where you go through the course. So you go through the training to learn what that is, which I agree, the training itself doesn't give you confidence, but if you're uncertain about what that is, sometimes you do need somebody to explain like what these are and how these techniques are used in an industry standard way. But what really builds the confidence is applying that training into a situation in your real world. And then you submit that for an instructor review. And when this instructor confirms that it meets the requirements, you have passed that module and all of the ACBAs. So I know Solomon on here is an ACBA. If we have any other ACBAs listening in, I know we had Euphemia at the beginning. Feel free to chime in. So once you meet all 4 of those requirements, then you earn your ACBA certification through Bridging the Gap. So it really is a real world practical application certification, which is entirely different than passing a multiple choice exam. So
Agreed.
yeah.
Agreed. So I do want to give a little bit. Charles was with our first person who asked the question.
Hey,
So
Charles.
I feel that we need to at least acknowledge the question. I hope Charles is still on. And at least give a little bit of insights to what role is best for a fresh BA grad.
Yeah, this can be a challenging one. I find, in most local areas, there are a couple of companies that are going to hire new business analysts. And so they might have internship programs, they might have formal junior business analyst roles. So, like, looking for that as an opportunity is looking for those companies is often a great place to start. And if those opportunities like that can feel restrictive, so sometimes we recommend, if you're really looking for that and not finding those opportunities locally, looking for roles around business analysis. So that could be a test engineer, a project coordinator, something that gets you into a project or into a business and professional setting where you can start to build up your on-the-job business analysis skills to move in. So really, again, following what are your interests and where can you get a foot in the door with the degree that you have in your current local area is really how to start answering that question.
All right, we have another question here from Crystal, which I think is also a good question. Actually, all these are great questions. We just probably won't get to every single one of them because they're coming in fast and furious right now. So my scrolling is going a little bit crazy. But Crystal asked, I'm on a new BA team, and one thing that has been difficult is letting people know what we do. What advice do you have when we are faced with those challenges of wanting to provide support, but people don't know how to use us? Oh, Lord.
Yeah, I am interested in your views on this
Whew.
one too, Paula. But the first thing that came to mind for me is really to invest in building relationships, right? So as opposed to coming in with here's all the things that I can do. I have this toolbox, I'm doing all this. Sitting down with the people that you see that could benefit from you the most or the project leaders and what are you seeing with your projects, how are things going, what would you like to be improved, and just starting to then educate, here are some tools that I have that I can use that would help with that, right? So starting with the relationship versus starting with the tool set.
I 100% agree. I always would say when I would do speaking, now this is just Paula Bell speaking, coming up with a statistic, okay? So if you were to go and look this up somewhere, you're probably not going to find it. This is just based off of my experience. So let me put that disclaimer out there. I would say 80% of the role of a BA is more on the soft skills, which I consider the critical skills versus the technical. Because if you don't know how to communicate in writing or verbally, if you don't know how to build relationships, if you don't know how to collaborate, if you don't know how to be a team player, if you don't know how to influence, negotiate, you're going to have a hard time being a business analyst. And I've seen it over and over and over where I have managed even rock star BAs, people didn't want to work with them. They didn't want to work with them because they felt that they knew everything. They felt that their voice wasn't being heard. They felt that they were just being told what they should do and their needs weren't really being heard. They didn't feel like they had that platform for where their voice could be heard. So you have to find that balance. And I 100% agree. Start building relationships and just explaining to people what your role is and the value that you can bring and how you want to work with them to solve their problem, how you have the skill to help them solve whatever problem that they have. And I found that that is the best approach to work. Once you can start making that connection, you also understand how to work with the individuals. So you'll start to understand like their pet peeves and things that they like, they don't like, and you can work with that. So I 100% agree. It's building those relationships and communicating really strong. So yes,
And
yes,
awesome. And congratulations on your new BA team, Crystal. It's exciting.
yes. Wow, these questions are just coming in. Okay, so hold on. I'm trying to find some. Whew, hold on. Okay. Here's one. What is best practice or top tips for managing or juggling multiple deliverables for various initiatives without missing deadlines? And what does too much work look like for a BA?
Paula, do you want to start with this one? I feel like you are our productivity czar.
Oh
I'm
my
happy to chime
goodness.
in, but
Yeah.
yes.
Oh my goodness. So, yes, juggling multiple deliverables. So, I would have to tell you for me and for what has worked for me is all about time management, and I'm managed by a calendar. So I literally have to block off time. And as you know, I'm the director of operations for BTG. And there's a lot that we do as a company to provide the awesome services and products that we provide, right? So I'm working on multiple things at once. I could be working on a launch. I could be working on a promo. I could be working on many different things. It's really all about time management. But I'm going to tell you what the key is when you're managing or juggling multiple deliverables. You have to set boundaries. And you cannot waver from your boundaries. So what I mean by that is if you tell people that you are from 12 to 12:30 is your lunchtime because you have to eat every 3 hours, because if you don't eat every 3 hours, your blood sugar is going to go down. You could have a medical emergency, right? I'm being very that actually is me, but I'm just making this as an example. You have to hold to that boundary, because if you keep wavering, people aren't going to take you seriously. So when you set boundaries, you have to hold to them. Boundary setting is huge. Now, if you find that you are so overwhelmed that you cannot even get the work done, your quality's going down and you're missing deadlines, you probably have too much work, and there needs to be a conversation on prioritization. What really should I be working on right now? Sometimes we put more on ourselves than what is actually being expected of us. I'm guilty of that. And you need to have those conversations of, okay, so what should I be working on? What those priorities are. And if you're doing work that doesn't even align with the objectives or the strategy, that's a raise your hand and question it as well. Also, I would say outside of boundaries, prioritization, data. Show the data to your manager or your project manager or the sponsor on how much time it's taking you to do this work and why you can't get things done, because you really can't argue with data. So when they start to see the data, then they'll start to question, well, do I need additional people? Because this is the problem. If you keep doing what you're doing, Jade, and you keep making it happen and you keep meeting the deadlines, even though you overwhelmed, stressed out, you don't feel good, your health's going down, they're going to think you're good. So they're just going to keep giving you the work because, oh, she can do it, right? So you don't want that particular thing. So set boundaries, manage your time, definitely make sure your work is prioritized, and have data behind if you are doing more than you can handle as an individual. That would be what I would say at the top of my head right now.
Yeah, those are all good ones. I think the only thing I would add that's specific, well, it's not specific to business analysis, but like in general, is also to put up for each of your projects, you take the time to put a plan in place. This is what we teach in step 4 of our business analysis process. And if you go to my newsletter on LinkedIn, the Successful Business Analyst newsletter, I just posted an article about it a few weeks ago. So you can learn a little bit more about step 4 there as well. But really putting the plan together and you saying this is how much these various deliverables are going to require and who needs to be involved, right? So that you're informing the deadlines. That doesn't mean that people will just be like, oh, they need this much time and like automatically give you that much time. You might need to have some negotiation on that. But start with a plan that represents your capacity so that you're starting from that point versus starting from a point where somebody else is telling you, I need this by here and this by here and this by here. And then you're trying to juggle it and make it all work. So there's like this, like it's a perception, a perspective shift in terms of being proactive and setting those deadlines and coming up with a plan that's workable for you versus just reacting to the deadlines that are coming in. And it can take some time to like get into that as you start to take on new projects, but it really makes a big difference. Also, it makes a difference in how you're perceived. To a lot of Paula's points about like being perceived as somebody who sets boundaries, being perceived as somebody who gets things done and who has a plan, right? You have a plan. So it really does. I think there's a lot of benefits to having a plan like that. Okay.
So a few of the comments that we've been having around questions is around technology, specifically around cloud technology. And if you should get certifications to be considered a high value BA. So I think we need to have the conversation about certifications, Laura, and when should you get certifications?
Just to clarify, are we talking technical certifications or BA certifications?
Both. We have both coming in. Coming in.
Okay.
So we have BA certifications and technical. But I think we could have a broader conversation about just certifications and your approach on what would you say to someone as far as they want to, because you should continually learn, right? And it was mentioned in here too by another participant that you're always continually learning and you want to upscale and all that, your skills. But what advice would you give someone that is looking to do additional certifications as a BA, whether technical or as BA certifications? What's some advice you would give on how you should approach that?
Yeah, I think it always starts out with what are your goals, right? So what are your goals? Where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? And or what is the short-term goal? So I see a lot of people pursue especially more of a technical certification because it might open up a job opportunity. So if you are in that, like I am looking for a job and I feel like this is a barrier, like, but before you decide on that, get some proof that that certification really is going to get you job opportunities. Because I see what happens a lot is people assume that it meets the qualifications that they're seeing in jobs, but it actually doesn't, right? So then they get they spend all this time kind of getting the certification, but then an employer still wants real world experience in that area. And so they feel like they're right back where they're started. And just like said, we're a training company. We have our own certification. I'm a huge proponent of training and especially on the job learning and real world application, because that's where I see people actually get better at their work as a business analyst is when they go and do the work. And we created a certification out of that because we wanted people to be recognized for the immense amount of work and development they do when they go through our programs. But not so much because we thought like that was going to be the one thing, right, that they needed to have to be successful. It's because we want to acknowledge what like the investment that they make. But often those people are having results in the first module or the second module because they're out doing the work and applying it. So often I think we see a lot of value when we're when we're able to apply what we're learning as part of any sort of training or certification project on the job, and so that we're gaining that experience along with the training. So that is not like the awesome silver bullet kind of answer that people like to hear, but I think it's the reality of what often will benefit people the most.
Okay. Okay, I would also advise individuals to drop any other topics that you would like for us to discuss in the future, because I know we're running up the time here. We're down to our 5-minute counter. And so I just want to make sure that if there's specific topics that you might want to see us talk about in the future, please drop those in here as well. And I'm seeing here, so Bernadette, I have to answer your question because you've asked this question multiple times and I feel bad because I haven't gotten to it yet. Bernadette does not want to be in the financial industry. Let's just make that clear. So what keywords or what else can you look up to find business analysis jobs? Well, it might be that the financial industry does leverage project management and business analysis quite a bit. And I have seen that they do pop up. When you're looking for a BA job, you are going to get financial industry because they're always putting stuff out there. But if you're looking for a particular industry, determine what industry you want to work in. And then when you do your searches, make sure that you're doing searches like you can actually say business analysis in healthcare, or project management in healthcare, or business consulting in healthcare. You might actually have to put in the actual industry that you're looking for that is not financial. There's not, and I wouldn't say there's so many keywords that you can use for business analysis right now is hundreds of them, right? You can use product owner, scrum master, you can use agile, you can use business analyst, business systems consultant, business consultant. There's so many different terms out there. And that's why I tell people to really hone in on the industry or domain you want to work in, and then take it down from there to see how they're using those terms. So that would be the advice I would give you right now in the moment at this particular time.
I think it's a great tip. Just search for another industry. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, here goes a nice comment.
Yeah. Hi, James. Great to have you here. Yeah. So James says, I'm currently taking the ACPA training and it's absolutely brilliant. And this is the part I love. I love hearing that people love our training, but what I really love is even the stakeholders that I'm working with are seeing the additional benefits and value, right? And so just for context, I think we just are like in the tail end of module 2 right now, right? So it's a 4-module program. And so when I was saying, like, how can you apply what you are learning, no matter what training or certification program it is, on the job, that's what I'm talking about, right? Like, what kind of differences will your stakeholders notice even before you get that certification, because you are able to take it to them. So James, that just warms my heart. I'm so excited for you and for all the more things that you'll experience as we get into modules 3 and 4 as well. So great job. Thank you. Great.
So a topic that came up was talk about AI and the BA role, and Laura actually has. We actually do have a video out there today on the Bridging the Gap YouTube channel around AI in regards to business analysis, but I'm quite sure that is a topic that's going to keep going. That's a topic that's going to just keep on giving.
For sure. And I am like, to be totally transparent, this is a topic I buried my head in the sand in for a long time. Like I think a lot of BAs have, I recently posted a poll on our Bridging the Gap page, and only 50% of the people who responded to that poll had actually logged in and tried to use ChatGPT, right? So that's like pretty significant. Like at this point, that is a tool that makes AI very accessible, very available. It's certainly not the definition of artificial intelligence. That's much bigger. So, but I would say that is a first step. Like go in and start playing around with Chat GPT, see how it can help you learn about an industry, how it can help you come up with questions for your meetings, how it could help you come up with ideas to offer as improvement, not to become like your thinking, like it doesn't do your thinking, but it's like a thinking partner.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So use it as a thinking partner to help you get more done more quickly. And just, I'm reading a book called, it's a really general book on artificial intelligence, and don't have it in front of me, so I'll post it in the comments after the session. But I think just like learning about what it is and thinking about how it might be useful in your company is a good first step. So, in not getting stuck in this idea that it's somehow going to take away our job, but how can I leverage it to be more efficient and effective, and just learn more about it. Be open and curious. Yeah.
I 100% agree. I did a poll on Reddit to the BA community as well, and I had about 43% say that they're actively using Chat GPT. And then like another 40-something% say that I'm using it a little bit. I'm dabbling.
Yeah.
And then some people are like, I don't even know what you're talking about. So it was, it's all over the board. I had to throw that one in there. And then some were like, I don't even care about it. So hey,
Yeah. So those of you who are using it daily are like way ahead of the game. And, that doesn't mean to stop there, but that would be a good starting point.
Correct.
All right. I think we're over the top of the hour. So I do want to be cognizant of everyone's time. This has been this is the first time we did this. It's been a ton of fun. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all your comments. And I know we didn't get to all of them, but as Paula mentioned, they're going to be great ideas for future topics, content, videos at Bridging the Gap. I be sure to subscribe to my LinkedIn newsletter. I might be able to address a few of them through that over the coming weeks. So I'm super excited to have you all here, and let us know what you want covered next. We are coming back April 18th, we're going to have Elizabeth Heron talk about the project management role. I've seen some project management questions. So we are going to have a whole live with somebody from the project management area. And then in May, I don't remember the date off my top of my head, but we're going to have Carl Wiegers and Candace, I forget her last name. They just came out with a new book, and we're going to talk about legacy and also agile. So I'm really excited about both of those. Perfect. And thank you, Paula, for making this tech work so amazing.
Yeah. You're welcome. It's been fun. Looking forward to the next one.
Me too. All right.
With that, thank you everyone for joining. We will see you hopefully in April. If not, hopefully in May, but we will continue to do these sessions over the year. And so hopefully we'll get to engage. And thank you again for your participation. It's been a fun one. Talk soon.